Good evening. I'm your host, Kristen. Tonight's story is based on a real restaurant in Japan called the Restaurant of Mistaken Orders. They allow people with dementia to be the servers in the restaurant so they can feel purposeful and engaged in the community. And also, it's a brilliant concept because as the customers, you have to let go of your expectations of everything being the way you wanted and become open to discovering that there's more there that you hadn't seen before. And this resonated with me because my own mother had dementia and came to live with me. She wanted to be purposeful and useful, but she would break things. She would try to use the vacuum cleaner and break it, and I said, "Hey, you can't clean anymore." And I understand how frustrating that was for her. And so I wrote this story based on my love of this concept and my own experience having a loved one with dementia. Begin by getting super cozy and relaxed in your bed. Move around your pillows and blankets until everything feels just right. Take a very deep breath in and exhale slowly, allowing any tensions of the day to just be on their merry way. We are designed to rest, relax, and rejuvenate. Allow yourself to just completely relax and get comfortable. Let's begin. The setting sun cast a warm glow over the picturesque streets of the charming Japanese town. The air was filled with a gentle breeze that carried the scent of blooming cherry blossoms, creating an atmosphere of tranquility and romance. Nestled amidst the quaint shops and the narrow alleys was a hidden gem, an outdoor cafe known as Serendipity's Special Café. At a corner table, beneath a canopy of twinkling lights, sat Hiroshi and Emiko, a young Japanese couple deeply in love. Their eyes sparkled with affection as they engaged in animated conversation, their hands occasionally brushing against one another. Hiroshi with his tousled hair and warm smile, and Emiko with her gentle demeanor and twinkling laughter were the epitome of youthful bliss. Approaching their table with a slight shuffle in her steps was Mrs. Tanaka, an elderly woman whose face bore the graceful lines of age and wisdom. Her eyes, though clouded with the veil of forgetfulness, still held a glimmer of kindness and warmth. Mrs. Tanaka, adorned in a traditional kimono, was the embodiment of grace, despite the challenges she faced due to her dementia. For you see, Serendipity's Special Café was more than just a place to savor delectable dishes. It was a haven that embraced the beauty of humanity in all its forms, guided by a belief that memories and love can be cherished even in the face of forgetfulness. The cafe offered a compassionate space for elderly residents with dementia, where they could showcase their skills and be a part of a loving community. As Hiroshi and Emiko perused the menu, Their eyes wandered toward the staff, their hearts touched by the wisdom etched on each face. It was a place where empathy and connection flourished, where the beauty of shared moments transcended the boundaries of time. The couple exchanged excited glances, enchanted by the notion of being served by someone whose life had been enriched by a wealth of experiences. With a sense of anticipation, they prepared themselves for an evening that would be unforgettable. Not just for the delightful cuisine, but for the serendipitous encounters that awaited them in the cozy embrace of Serendipity's special Café. The unforgettable encounter. Mrs. Tanaka approached Hiroshi and Emiko's table, her eyes flickering with a mixture of determination and uncertainty. She clasped her hands together, the paper menu trembling ever so slightly. "Good evening," she greeted them warmly, her voice tinged with a gentle fragility. As Mrs. Tanaka tried to recall the order, her brows furrowed and her lips moved silently, as if searching for elusive words within the labyrinth of her mind. The couple watched with empathy, their hearts swelling with patience and understanding. They knew that in this whimsical cafe, it was the journey that mattered more than the destination. Hiroshi leaned forward, his voice filled with kindness. "Please, take your time, Mrs. Tanaka. We're in no rush." Emiko nodded, her eyes brimming with compassion. Their words wrapped around Mrs. Tanaka like a comforting hug, giving her the space she needed to gather her thoughts. With an apologetic smile, Mrs. Tanaka confessed, "Sometimes the memories, they dance away from me." Her eyes held a glimmer of sadness, yet the genuine warmth in Hiroshi and Emiko's expression offered solace and reassurance. Mrs. Tanaka took a deep breath, her frail fingers tracing the lines on the menu. She looked up, her eyes meeting Hiroshi and Emiko's, and a determined flicker sparked within her gaze. Though the details eluded her, the spirit of her role remained intact. With unwavering dedication, Mrs. Tanaka leaned closer and whispered, "Allow me to surprise you. Trust that the kitchen knows the secrets of your hearts." A glimmer of mischievousness danced across her face as she retreated, leaving Hiroshi and Emiko curious and eager to discover the mysteries that would soon grace their table. Throughout the evening, Mrs. Tanaka, in her delicate dance between remembering and forgetting, continued to serve each guest with a radiant smile. Her presence became a beacon of inspiration, reminding Hiroshi and Emiko that kindness and compassion could transcend the boundaries of time and even memory. As the couple sipped their tea, they marveled at the remarkable resilience that Mrs. Tanaka embodied. Her unwavering dedication to her role touched their hearts, leaving an indelible mark on their souls. In this whimsical cafe, where each dish whispered a tale of nostalgia, Hiroshi and Emiko discovered that the most extraordinary encounters often bloomed amidst the most unexpected circumstances. And little did they know that their enchanting journey at Serendipity's special cafe was only just beginning. For the true magic lay not in the ordered dishes, but in the serendipitous symphony of flavors that awaited them, lovingly orchestrated by the hands of fate itself. Unexpected surprises. With a touch of theatricality, Mrs. Tanaka returned to their table, carrying 2 plates adorned with delicacies that were quite different from what Hiroshi and Emiko had anticipated. Their eyes widened in surprise, mirroring the sheer wonderment that danced across Mrs. Tanaka's face. "Oh, I'm afraid we might have gotten your order a tad mixed up," she confessed, with a sheepish grin. "But fear not, for the kitchen has a way of creating something truly magical." Curiosity, tinged with excitement, flooded Hiroshi and Emiko's hearts as they regarded the unexpected creations before them. Instead of disappointment, their spirits soared with anticipation, embracing the spirit of adventure that had brought them to this whimsical cafe. Leaning closer, Hiroshi whispered to Emiko, "Isn't it marvelous? Life has a way of surprising us when we least expect it." Their eyes sparkled with a shared understanding, an unspoken agreement to savor the unexpected with open hearts and eager palates. As Hiroshi and Emiko took their first bites, an explosion of flavors cascaded over their taste buds, evoking a symphony of memories. With each mouthful, they were transported to their childhoods, to the kitchens of their mothers and grandmothers, where love was poured into every dish. A dish infused with fragrant ginger and soy sauce brought back memories of Emiko's grandmother's tender teriyaki chicken. Hiroshi's eyes widened with delight as he tasted a miso soup that mirrored the one his mother used to serve on chilly winter evenings. The layers of nostalgia and comfort enveloped them, weaving a tapestry of flavors that told the stories of their lives. In this enchanting twist of fate, Hiroshi and Emiko discovered that the universe had conspired to gift them with the culinary treasures that mirrored the cherished dishes of their childhood. They marveled at the serendipity that intertwined their lives with Mrs. Tanaka's, grateful for the unexpected surprises that were unfolding before them. Their initial hunger transformed into an even deeper hunger, one for connection and understanding. Each bite became a celebration of the intertwining threads of fate, bringing together the stories and flavors of generations past. In this fanciful outdoor cafe, Hiroshi and Emiko found themselves immersed in a journey that surpassed the boundaries of time and even memory. They shared knowing glances, their hearts brimming with gratitude for the unanticipated joy that had blossomed before them, simply from a mix-up of orders. And little did they know that the surprises they had just experienced were only the beginning of a truly remarkable evening, one that would leave them forever changed and etch a tale of compassion and love within their souls. The magic of shared stories. With their taste buds tingling from the flavors of nostalgia, Hiroshi and Emiko couldn't contain their excitement. They beckoned Miss Tanaka closer, inviting her to share in their culinary adventure. Mrs. Tanaka's eyes sparkled with anticipation as she joined them at the table, eager to hear their thoughts on the serendipitous creations. "This dish," Hiroshi began, pointing to a plate of crispy tempura, "reminds me of summers spent with my grandparents by the sea. We would catch fresh shrimp together and fry them until they turned golden, just like this." Emiko's face lit up as she gestured to a bowl of steaming ramen. "And this, it transports me back to my mother's kitchen. She would spend hours perfecting the broth, ensuring that every spoonful brought warmth and comfort." As the couple shared their cherished memories, Mrs. Tanaka's face transformed into a portrait of pure joy. With each tale they wove, her eyes grew brighter, as if a flicker of recognition danced within her depths. "I remember," she whispered, her voice laced with a mix of nostalgia and wistfulness. "I remember the laughter and the aromas that filled the air as families came together to create meals that were cherished and passed down through generations." Hiroshi and Emiko's hearts swelled with a profound understanding. In that moment, they realized that the essence of Mrs. Tanaka's being was not lost, merely obscured by the fog of dementia. They discovered the power of storytelling, of reviving the embers of memories that had the strength to ignite the flames of connection. Through sharing their stories with one another, a bond formed between Hiroshi, Emiko, and Mrs. Tanaka. Their laughter intertwined, as did the threads of their histories. It was as if they had unearthed a hidden treasure, a deep connection that transcended the boundaries of memories. Mrs. Tanaka's voice, once fragile, gained strength as she shared tales of her own family's recipes and the joy that they had brought her. Her stories wove an intricate tale of tradition, resilience, and love. Hiroshi and Emiko were captivated. Their hearts were brimming with gratitude for the opportunity to witness the radiance that lay beneath Mrs. Tanaka's fading memory. In this whimsical cafe, illuminated by the flickering lights and the melodies of shared laughter, Hiroshi, Emiko, and Mrs. Tanaka discovered a kinship that surpassed the limitations of their roles as customer and waitress. They became guardians of one another's memories, bearers of the legacy of their families, and the collective of our human experience. Gratitude and joy. As the evening drew to a close, Hiroshi and Emiko rose from their seats, their hearts overflowing for the extraordinary experience they had shared with Mrs. Tanaka. They clasped her hands gently, their eyes brimming with appreciation. "Thank you, Mrs. Tanaka," Emiko said softly, her voice filled with warmth. "Tonight has been more than we could have ever imagined. You've given us a gift of connection and cherished memories." Hiroshi nodded, his voice full of sincerity. "Your presence, your stories, they have touched us deeply. You have reminded us of the beauty that can be found in every moment, regardless of the passing of time." A fleeting smile grazed Mrs. Tanaka's lips, illuminating her face like a sunbeam piercing through the clouds. For a brief moment, the haze of forgetfulness seemed to recede, revealing the essence of the vibrant woman she once was. In that tender instance, Hiroshi and Emiko caught a glimpse of the depth and resilience that still resided within Mrs. Tanaka. As quickly as the spark appeared, it dimmed once more, fading into the gentle flicker of recognition. Mrs. Tanaka's eyes glazed over, her demeanor shifting back to that of a waitress fulfilling her duties. Yet the impression of that smile remained etched in Hiroshi and Emiko's hearts, a testament to the spirit that lingered within her. As Hiroshi and Emiko stepped out of the cafe into the cool night air, a sense of contentment enveloped them. They strolled hand in hand through the quaint streets of the Japanese town, their steps light and their souls aglow with the radiance of the transformative evening. The memories they had created, the stories they had shared, had become an integral part of their journey. They reveled in the knowledge that they had played a role, however small, in Mrs. Tanaka's life. The cafe's unique concept had granted them a remarkable experience, one that transcended the boundaries of age, memory, and even time itself. As they retired to bed that night, filled with a profound joy, they knew that the enchantment they had encountered at Serendipity's special cafe would forever be etched upon their souls, serving as a gentle reminder that even amidst the uncertainties of life, love and compassion can prevail. And so they lay there quietly with the echoes of Mrs. Tanaka's stories, cherishing the serendipitous encounter that had unfolded over tea and teriyaki in the whimsical cafe. Hiroshi's thoughts drifted back to Mrs. Tanaka, her fleeting moments of clarity and the warmth that emanated from her gentle spirit. It was in her struggle to remember, her unwavering commitment to serve, and the spark of recognition in her eyes that he found a profound lesson. "We often take our memories for granted," he said softly, breaking the silence. But tonight, Mrs. Tanaka reminded us of the power of empathy and connection. It's a reminder to cherish every moment, every interaction, for they have the potential to leave a lasting imprint on someone's life. Emiko nodded, her heart brimming with agreement. Yes, it's in these shared experiences, however brief, that we can find the true essence of what it means to be human, to connect, to understand, and to share as witness to one another's stories. It's a gift that enriches our lives in immeasurable ways. Hiroshi nodded and pulled Emiko closer. And so, in the embrace of sleep, their hearts remained full, carrying the radiance of their shared experience into a new day. A day that held the promise of further connections, unexpected adventures, and the infinite possibilities that lie within the beauty of being alive. The Serendipity Special Café had woven its magic transforming an ordinary evening into an extraordinary experience of connection and shared stories. It reminded Hiroshi and Emiko and all who witnessed it that beauty often hides in unexpected moments, waiting to be discovered. And so, dear listener, as we bid farewell to this whimsical journey, may you carry the belief in the power of compassion and the magic of serendipity. May your heart be filled with hope, and may your smile shine brightly as you find beauty in every step of your own remarkable journey.